hot during the day, so we're trying to get this done early in the morning.
What was that? I don't know.
Greeting all the flowers and the trees back in time for the spring. Oh, I'll grab my boots and darling, take my hand and we'll go for a walk and be gone for some time.
Hey everyone, I'm Martin.
And I'm Shelley.
And we had a question the other day on a video that we had recently produced, and the person asked, are we 100% self-sufficient? And we're going to answer that question, but before we get started on that, if you could hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, and let's get into this.
Yes.
So our goal when we moved down here was to become as self-sufficient as we possibly could. And we were coming out of the pandemic. It was 2021, and we started seeing kind of some writing on the wall about how the economy was taking a turn for the worse and how our business had come under kind of attack from mandates and things like that. And we had a long conversation about, you know, we may need to rethink the process of life a little bit for us and become a little bit more self-sufficient, because we were almost exposed to every kind of thing that was going haywire in the world, we felt, all at once. That conversation between the two of us brought us to the point where we decided that we need to become more self-sufficient and independent in our life. And what all did that mean to you? I mean, I know what it meant to me, but what did it mean to you when we started talking about that?
Sorry, I just had an ant crawling. I mean, okay, number one, I believe that self-sufficiency is being able to grow your own food. And I also believe that not to rely on the government for your electricity and your power grid and your water. And so that...
Yeah, and so to us, the definition of self-sufficiency just simply means reducing your reliance on everything else.
Right.
And so that's the goal that we set out when we started doing this. We started looking for land and we wanted to do raw land. We wanted to do something where the entire thing was up to us how we developed it and built it. And so we found a piece of land that was exactly like what you see behind us. That's all it was. And we started building there. And so when we think self-sufficiency, we think, you know, our shelter, our housing, and the food, like Shelley mentioned, energy sources and water sources, all of that kind of thing comes into self-sufficiency. And when we started on this property, we had a deadline to get in. I mean, we really only had about 5 months to get a cabin built to the point where we could move on to the property, just because the place we were staying in had guests going to be coming into the cabin and we had to be out of there. Yeah. And so to start with, it was coming out of the pandemic. Actually, we were still kind of in the middle of the pandemic when we started this. Yeah. And the well people,
they were backed up way like 7 months. And even he found out that we could actually get rural water. We didn't even know when we got down here. We were using water from one of the ponds.
When we were pouring our cement, we had a ditch dug down here that we were running some utility lines in, and it was filling up with water every night because it was in the springtime and everything was wet. Yeah. And so we were dipping water out of this ditch in order to mix our cement.
And that even took we kept asking them, when are you going to get our water? So it was a long process, and but we had to get here. We had to be on this property. Yeah. So we had to deal with things. And as you go, you have to deal with things in particular order, don't you believe?
Yeah, well, and we had, for the water, for example, we knew that we weren't going to be able to get a well put in here. Ultimately, that would make us self-sufficient with water. But we knew we weren't going to be able to do that. So we just simply arranged our priorities that it's like, okay, we're going to tap into the rural water system and then bring it down here. And then at some point in the future, when we have the time to deal with it and the well drillers are available, we'll go ahead and put a well down here, which will make us independent from a water source.
Mm-hmm.
And
the solar part, we started our solar down by the cabin, but we found out that we needed to expand it bigger. So as we cleared out our land here to build our garden, would open up more area for our solar panels. So we were just figuring all this out as we started.
Yeah,
but we didn't know what we were doing.
And
so
if you're one of the kind of people that dream of making a journey like this back to the land, become more self-sufficient yourself, we were in a place where with the solar, we had no idea how any of that worked. Okay, we had a family member that understood it much better, and but they lived 1,000 miles away, and so trying to get that understanding over the phone was almost impossible. So we started by experimenting with solar.
Mm-hmm.
And we actually set our property up. Maybe someday we'll do a video on this, but we set our property up so that it's run on partial grid power, but then we have some fully dedicated circuits that are nothing but solar. And we started with a very small system just to experiment with it and get our feet under us on how it even worked. So, if you're thinking about becoming energy independent, then and you don't know anything about it, don't be afraid to start small with an experimental thing. Our first little system was very small.
Yes.
And until we understood kind of how it worked, and then after we get to where we understand how it worked, we've expanded it out much larger. And we'll give a little tour here of what we've been doing with our solar. And we really wanted to be food independent as much as we possibly could from the very first day. And you know what? This is now going into our 3rd year down here. Not quite. We're about 2.5 years yet. But we only just now got our garden done.
Yeah. Well, I want to say something too. We are older, so I didn't want to, he wanted to go plow and do it that way. I wanted raised beds, and them raised beds took a little bit of time. I mean, quite a bit of time.
They took a lot of time.
They took a lot of time. So, you got to think of what your priority is and how you want to do it. So I wanted raised beds, so we took some time and did it. As we learn and as we go through this, you might have different goals as you do. Like you might want your livestock right away, and you might want to do a certain way different than what we did, but each person has to find out what they can do to become more self-sufficient as they can.
Yeah, and again, I just go back to re-emphasize the whole point. You don't have to feel like it all has to be done immediately and all at once. Pick the things that are the priority to you. If the food and the gardening and the vegetables and the produce and all of that are a priority to you, and you don't have a looming deadline of having to move right away, start where you can and just start working at it. And I can tell you right now, even with the garden, that as much as we're going to get out of this garden right now, and we'll do a little walkthrough here, but as much as we're going to get out of the garden this year, it's not going to be enough to make us completely 100% self-sufficient, even from a vegetable produce point of view. But this year, we're going to make a huge progress towards becoming more self-sufficient from that point of view. And I'm okay with that. And
I think too, there's a learning curve in everything. So this was a learning curve because we hadn't had a garden for how long?
Well, 30 years.
30 years. So I had to relearn, rethink, and remember everything. And so we had to dig out and learn. And so it just took us some time. But why don't you tell them about the hydroponic system?
Yeah. One of the things that we really have been intrigued by is the whole subject of hydroponics and aquaponics. And so we're not really quite ready to tackle the aquaponics thing yet, but we did start doing the hydroponics, and I'm publishing a video on it probably on Wednesday, this coming Wednesday, of building this system, because it's a small system, and again, it's just like everything else that we've done out here. It's like starting with the solar. You start small till you figure out what you're doing, and then expand it out. And we knew, like with the solar, that in order for us to do it at the size and scale that we wanted, we were going to have a large inverter. So we invested in that right away. And we're building up the batteries and the panels around that larger inverter that will run the whole entire property. Same is true kind of with the hydroponics, is that, you know, I'm learning it. It's a learning curve. We're both learning it.
Yes.
And it's not something that I'm confident in enough until I have a chance to experiment with a small system. So we built a small system,
right.
And we're going to actually fire it up this week. And
I think too, as far as growing the vegetables, that is going to be a big game changer, because it's a new way to do things.
Yeah, so to get an idea of what the garden is like, I mean, it's a jungle down here. And over there is the solar panel rack that we just got done. And again, we just did a video on how we built that this past week. So if you go back into the playlist, the construction of that will be there. The greenhouse here was a priority. We actually bought this thing and it was only $149. So if you are interested in something like this, I'll put a link down below on where you can get that. But here's our hydroponic system, and it's small, but
I'll turn it on. So
Shelley's going to turn it on
so they can see.
We just got this put together yesterday.
We got a few adjustments to make on it.
I kicked the bucket.
Got a few adjustments. Oh. That one come on first.
There they are. And if you look at these, you're going to see, okay, just a minute. If you look at these, we've got propagation trays where the cups actually fit all the way down into the water so that we can start seeds down there. And once they're done, we can take them and bring them up and drop them in up here where they can grow, and there's a little bit better spacing in between them.
Yeah, is this what we're going to put in there?
Well, that's one of the things that we can put in there.
We're going to put these in there and get them wet. And I'm excited about this. I can't wait to get started. So.
Yep. So again, watch next, this coming Wednesday is when we're going to be doing the video on how we built this whole system here. And we're excited about that. So that's just one more element that we're adding to increase our self-sufficiency. And again, I guess going back to the very beginning of this, it's, if you have a goal of doing that, if you have a self-sufficiency quest in your dreams, then be okay with taking it incrementally. Just take it a step at a time. Do what you can do. Prioritize what's important to you, and then just start making progress a little at a time on the things that are most important for you at the moment, and that will happen.
I think that's a good advice, because people need to do things as they can.
Yeah. So where are we at with our self-sufficiency right now? Going from being zero self-sufficiency when we came down here, we're in a small cabin right now that's affordable. Okay, it's something that we could build ourselves, and we don't owe any money on it. So we don't have any debt with the cabin. Actually, we don't have any debt on any of this land.
On the land,
here. And we would have liked a bigger piece of land, but we really couldn't justify going into debt to get a bigger piece of land, and this is plenty big enough for us.
Right.
So we're self-sufficient there. We're self-sufficient in our housing, as far as no debt related to that. We are about 50-50 self-sufficient on our electricity. And honestly, we've lost power down here. The grid has gone down, I think, 3 times since we've been here due to storms and stuff like that. And our solar plant automatically kicked over and picked up the slack, where we didn't even realize that we didn't have grid power. That's how smooth and seamless it was. So technically, I mean, we could, if we lost power today, we'd be good. I mean, we wouldn't even know that there was a hiccup in it. So we're 50-50, but could be 100% on that.
Yeah, and I'm all for turning it over into 100% as we, get ready for it.
Yeah, we just upgraded our solar panel system. I'll show you a little quick clip of that here. The panels are now, we've got about 5 times as much production capacity from a panel point of view than we did before, and we still have to upgrade our batteries. We've got them bought. We just need to get them picked up and brought up and connected, and just haven't had time for that.
Got another thing to say. When we got the garden area, we had to take down a bunch of trees, and we didn't know for sure what was going to be in the range of shadowing our solar panels, but we're going to have to take down a few more trees, so we got that to do.
Yeah, so it's all a work in progress.
Yeah.
So the water we are not self-sufficient on right now. It's a very economical source, but at some point when we get caught up on other things, we do plan to have a well drilled out here, and then that will be self-sufficient on the water. So we're really, and as far as the vegetables and that, we're still buying groceries, but it's getting to be less and less.
Less and less.
Because the garden is really starting to come on now.
Yeah, and I tell you, I was snacking on a cucumber last night, and I could have had to buy that cucumber. And I tell you what, there's something about having your own food.
They taste a lot better.
Oh,
yeah. And what is the other? Oh, we don't raise livestock here, just for several reasons, and it's not that we're opposed to it. It's just we don't really have time for it. And so she does hunting in the fall. I don't that much, but she does. She likes it. She's put a couple of deer in the freezer and
plan on
doing that some more this year. And so from those respects, we are gaining in self-sufficiency. If there was a major, I guess, crisis, or even just a weather type disaster that put us out of commission from other sources for months on end, we'd have to tote water in here, but we would get by fine with everything else that we've got. And we've got good neighbors that do have wells, so
right.
have to maybe rely on them a little bit. So anyway, I don't know. I hope that answers the question. Of how self-sufficient are we? Some of the off-grid people are gonna say, well, they're not self-sufficient at all. And
well,
I mean, technically that's true, but we're a lot farther than we were, and we are okay with doing it a piece at a time. So we're getting there, and we're not slowing down. And
no.
And it's actually been kind of a fun journey.
Yeah.
It's fun. Economics drove us a little bit on this.
Yeah.
And it's fun to know that we're beating the system in a lot of different ways.
And two, every person, when you are in your own area, you have different things to challenge. So with us, with our garden, we have a lot of rocks. We live in Stone County, by the way. But so we did raised beds. And so as you go and find what the challenges are.
There's a reason why they named it Stone County.
Yeah. Anyway, so I guess we're done. I mean.
Yeah, I guess so. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it was informative to you. If you are on a self-sufficient quest of your own, be okay with doing it a little at a time. Just prioritize what's important to you and start there. And just figure out what's first, what's next, and just work your way through it.
I gotta tell you guys something. One of his priorities was right away an indoor toilet.
No, that was not my priority.
What?
That was both of our priorities.
Oh yeah. So think about it. I mean, we had our own little outhouse there for a while.
Yeah, it's It was when we got the water run into the cabin, that was the very first thing we hooked up. So,
Yeah.
anyway, thanks for watching. We appreciate it. Hit the subscribe button, the notification bell, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
If you've enjoyed this video, give it a like and a share, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below and the notification bell. See you next time.